What's going on, you guys, and welcome to Repair, Revive, Repeat. Today is our 60th subscriber special. Today, we're going to be working on a VCR. We're not only going to be working on a VCR, but we are going to be enjoying ourselves some adult fun while we work on this VCR. I'm going to see how much it takes of this before I can no longer work on this thing. I think that this is an awesome idea. It's going to be super fun. And we're going to see how many shots it takes of this adult beverage it takes for me to not be able to work on this thing anymore. So, I've already had one of these to myself in celebration of our 60th subscriber. So at time of filming, we now have 60 subscribers. We have 3,000 watch hours, tons of views, and that is thanks to you guys. So this is simply going to be for funsies. I'm not going to do this all the time, but when we hit our 500th subscriber, I'm going to do this again, and we will see how much of that it takes for me to not be able to work on electronics. So, I think this is going to be a fun, exciting episode. It may be a VCR. However, it's about the energy that counts. So, we are going to get into this. We are going to get this VCR hooked up, connected to the TV, see if it even works, and then, as usual, we're going to go from there, right? So, to anybody who suffers from alcoholism, I do not recommend you watch this video. If you think that you might have a problem, consult your immediate nearest physician. Get some help. I don't do this all the time, but this is a celebratory type video, and if you think that you need alcohol to make you feel better, then you definitely need to consult somebody. Go and get some help. I do not recommend this to anybody. For YouTube, I'm not promoting drinking. I do not think that anybody underage should be drinking. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead, we're going to get into this thing, and we are going to tear this thing apart if necessary. We're going to do whatever it takes to get this thing working. If we can't get it working, whatever. It's for fun. So let's do this, you guys. Alright, you guys. So this is our VCR in question. This is an old school Memorex 4-head, as it says. We're going to get it hooked up to this TV, and we're going to see what it does or does not do. I do actually have some old school VHS tapes to see if this thing will actually work. So, I'm going to go ahead and get you guys set up, and we're going to get into this live action and see what happens. Okay, so we got our VCR hooked up. We're going to go ahead and power it on and see what happens. Alright, so immediately we are getting video out to the screen here. And from what I'm seeing, there is a tape in here, you guys. So let's see what happens when we try to eject this thing. Alright, so it did eject. Oh. Okay, so when it does eject, there is an issue here. It looks like it is definitely eating the tape. We do have damage to the tape here. See if we can't crack that real quick. Okay, so we have Too Fast, Too Furious. So typically when something like this eats a tape like that, which this one obviously did, there is some kind of slippage going on inside. Maybe the headers are no good. I mean, honestly, I don't know a lot about VCRs when it comes to repairing them. I've never had to repair one before. But we're going to go ahead, get this thing in there, and see what happens when we try to play it. Obviously, this thing is damaged. It's probably no good, so it is worth a shot to see if it at least will play the VHS. So let's give it a shot and see what happens. Alright, so it does take it in immediately. So it is actually playing the VHS. Let's see what happens when we eject it, you guys. Alright, so it did actually eject the VHS to us. However, with the fact that it did eat it originally, means that there is some kind of actual issue going on inside. So we're going to give this a couple more tries and see if it's consistent. So fast forward definitely works. Alright, and we are somehow to the movie. So, with it doing what it did before, shows that it does have an issue. There's no guarantee that this is going to be consistent. By the damage that I saw off of that VHS, definitely shows me that at some point it's going to get caught up in here. So let's go ahead and we're going to eject it. Which thankfully it did. And we do have our VHS here. So typically with something like this, all you got to do, you just got to pull it apart, clean it up real good, and it should work. We're going to go ahead, we're going to get this thing apart and see what we're looking at on the inside. Alright, so first thing we're going to do is we are going to take my trusty dusty drill here, and we're going to see if we can get this thing apart. But before that, we are going to have some of this. We are going to see how much of this it takes before I cannot work on this anymore. I think this is going to be super fun. And if we break it, we break it. Hopefully we don't. But this will definitely be a show of skill. If I can have all of this and still fix this, then I'm definitely going to feel like a beast. So we are going to go for shot number 1. Alright, there's my shot glass. Here is number 1 pour. Diboja, my friends. A little bit of a stain right there. I might have spilled a little tiny little bit. Alright, so with that being said, let's go ahead and get the screws out of the side on here and see what happens. Just so you guys know, I have never worked on one of these before. This is definitely going to be a first, but I will absolutely do my best to make this thing work. All right, so there are 2 screws on either side, and then same for the rear. Go ahead and get them out. All right, let's see if this top will go ahead and pop off. All right, super easy. So what we're gonna do is we are going to take some IPA and we're gonna clean everything off. So first thing that I'm noticing is that a lot of the stuff in here is just, it's dried up, it's old, it needs some attention. It's not too bad, but it's bad enough to warrant a full cleaning. So let's see what happens when we go ahead and clean all this stuff off. We are going to be careful with certain parts on here, mainly down here where we do see some grease. We don't want to remove any of that grease off of the tracks or whatever it is, because again, I'm not too familiar with working on these, but we will go ahead and clean everything off and see what happens. So stay with me, you guys. All right, so we have our trusty IPA. We do have my trusty dusty toothbrush in here, and we're going to go ahead and give everything just a nice good clean. All right, starting down here. I don't know what we're cleaning, but we are cleaning it. So based off of what I have studied, you don't want the actual tape itself slipping on anything that the tape is actually going through. So right here, these 2 pieces is where they actually insert to the VHS itself. So we don't want it slipping on any of these, which could potentially cause the scenario in which we had seen earlier. So we'll get them nice and clean and see what happens. All right, you guys, so we got everything nice and cleaned off. In conclusion to that, we are going to go ahead and have another one of these. Diboja, my friends. Oh my God. Oh. Okay, anyways. Oh Oh, that gets my throat every time. That should be all it takes to get this thing up and running. If not, it's going to need parts replacements, which I don't have. However, I have strong confidence in the fact that it is going to work. Let's get this thing back together and let's see what happens. Alright, so it is literally 2 days later, you guys. And this thing is working phenomenally. And I just want to show you guys how easy it is to fix something like this. Why do people just throw this stuff away? It doesn't make any sense to me. Literally 4 screws, this thing's apart. You clean it with some alcohol. It takes 5 to 10 minutes. And you have a working product again. Like, why? You could be 85 years old and still do this. It doesn't take a freaking rocket scientist to figure out how to fix something like this. Now, granted, there are situations when stuff like this, it breaks. It doesn't work. But it takes 10 minutes of your time to take this thing apart, clean the stuff off, put it back together, and test it and see if it works again. With that being said, we're going to go ahead, we're going to turn this TV on, we're going to put the same exact movie in, and see if this thing works. For those of you that have thrown something like this away, just because it stopped working, this is a lesson to you. Stop putting this stuff in our freaking landfills for no god dang reason. It blows my mind. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out how to make something like this work. Before we do this, let's go ahead, have another one of these, and see what happens. And I'm going to show you that even a drunk guy can fix something like this. Unbelievable. Here is to number 4. After this, we will put a VHS in here and see if this thing works. Diboja. Let's see if this thing works, you guys. So we got Too Fast, Too Furious, which came with this VHS player. Let's see if this thing actually works. And there you have it. This thing works perfectly fine. With a little bit of TLC, 4 screws, some alcohol, and a couple Q-tips, and a toothbrush. This thing works absolutely phenomenal. Yet again, another thing that does not need to be in our landfills. Simply because people don't want to take the time to figure out how this stuff works. If you're going to own electronics, know how the stuff works before you buy it. Stop poisoning our earth. With that being said, you guys, I will catch you in the next one. Happy 60 subscribers. I am so glad you guys are freaking amazing. Until next time, I'll catch you in the next one.